Hi guys, we are Chris and Bex and we are the Nomadic Crobot.
And about 3 years ago we decided to chip in and buy a narrowboat together with the intention of travelling the inland water network. However, our plans have gone a bit awry.
2 days into the purchase of the narrowboat, Becca discovered a leak under the floorboards, which led to us ripping up all the floorboards on the entire boat, leading it to a complete restoration project for the last 2.5 years. But we are really close now.
So in this episode we thought we'd take you for a walk through the boat. We could show you everything that we've achieved so far and everything that we are yet to achieve. So come and have a look.
So welcome to a slightly different episode this week, guys. We thought it would be nice to give everyone an update and show you exactly what still needs to be done on the narrowboat, because yeah, we seriously need to get cruising soon. It's just getting silly. Later on in the episode, we'll give you an update on the flooding issue at the marina. Yeah, we'll give you a little walk around there. But for now, let's get back to our first ever narrowboat floaty home. So the name of the narrowboat is the Whistling Wombat, and the length of the Wombat is 60 feet. She's a big mama. So first up, very interesting stuff, guys, very exciting. We go into the guest locker. Last summer, or a couple of summers ago, I repainted all the bottoms down here. And in the process, we made lots of new friends at the marina. You want to watch me do the aqua still, eh? Don't blame them. So it's all ready and fit to pass its BSS, which is the sort of safety regulations thing that you have to have when you live on a narrowboat. Narrowboats often come with a little cover on the front and the back. We've got a little mini cover on the back here. It's a bit more just like a blanket which covers up the area. We're currently in the process of working on getting quite a large pram cover on the back here, so it looks all nice and posh, because we want to go posh with this thing, don't we?
So one of the big jobs that remains is to sort out our solar power installation. We've got a couple of little panels here which they do a good job, but we need something a bit beefier, so we're looking at updating the whole system in that respect in the coming months.
Next up, got some damage to our poor little navigation lights that smashed off in a horrible little crash that happened last summer. Check out one of our videos for that. I won't go into too much detail.
The sore subject.
Yeah. It wasn't my fault. Was it? What? It wasn't my fault. I think people forget how dangerous water is and how quickly things can go from 1 to 11, like, and the boat can just drift off and collide into something, and then you've got to try to work out how to correct it, and that obviously comes with experience.
And the other thing as well is, one thing that you can be assured about with a narrowboat is nothing happens quickly. So if you try to react to a situation, it takes the boat a long time to respond. So often, you know, there's nothing you can do in those moments, really. If
you want to brake, you've got to sort of reverse, and you whack it in reverse, but that could take 30 seconds until it starts going, maybe. We've got 5 hatches on the narrowboat, 3 on the sides and 2 on the top up here. So a lot of you probably remember the huge story and upset of my narrowboat hatches. It was my first attempt at sort of narrowboat DIY, completely trying to reinstall the wooden inlay on the insides, and I think I've done it about 3 times or something, but again, it's in another video. We don't want to talk too much about the hatches. Guess what's coming up in a bit? The bow thruster area. That's another one, isn't it?
So as Chris mentioned earlier, here is our front cratch cover. However, as you can see, she has suffered a little bit of damage from one of the crashes. One of the crashes. So we're in the process of looking into options for replacing this front one here. So that sort of finishes off everything from the outside of the boat. So shall we go inside and have a look what's going on the inside?
I mean, does this class as inside or outside the conservatory of the narrowboat?
I don't think anyone wants to see in there. It's a right old hole.
Yeah, well, basically in here, guys, we'll just do this quickly. In here, it's very messy. But we've got the narrowboat's water tank down in there. And again, that's on another video on our channel if you want to see how that went. This is a terrible job to have to do on the Narrowboat. Climbing down into the disgusting hole that is our rusty water tank. And yes, all I done was rightfully mow. That went all right actually, didn't it? Out of all things, I think. Okay, let's go in. Come on.
So one of the first things you met with as you enter the cabin of the boat is our little stove area. Now we decided to rip this out at the end of summer, thinking that we were just going to retile it and whack it back in. But little did we know, the whole thing was just incredibly dangerous, and as we started to delve a bit deeper, realised it was going to need a complete overhaul. So the hearth has been reshaped, the whole thing's been retiled, and the upper part of the wall has been protected as well to save us from bursting into flames. But you can check out our stovey videos if you want to see a bit more about that. So there's just a couple of finishing touches to do to the stove, namely securing it down so it passes the BSS, because that's an important box to tick for that one, and just finishing off some of the edging work around the fireboards, basically just to neaten it up.
Clean them quickly, clean them, otherwise they'll think we're really grubby people.
But if we take a look down here, this is like my pride and joy. The new set of steps I made to just bring us nicely into the cabin, because the old ones were gnarly and like ripped at your ankles as you tried to step in.
Next up, onto he who shall not be named, the dreaded bow thruster area. The bow thruster, for those that don't know, helps the front of the boat move left and right, because the steering on a narrowboat is situated at the back of the vessel. So having some steering on the front can really help it move left to right. Our one, surprise, surprise, is kaput. It is broken. It has been an absolute nightmare. By nightmare, I mean we've had a sort of leaking issue in there for about a year and a half. We were trying to work out what the issue was with water getting in there. We thought, was it from the bow thruster? Was it from condensation? Before we had the covers on the front of the boat, rainfall on the top of the bow area, because water does come through there. So I think it's probably a combination of all three of those things, but we have eliminated the main cause of it, because it's certainly not as bad as it was down there. There is still a little bit of water in there, but it's nothing to really worry about, I don't think anyway. You might also have noticed that we've got all the stuff from the snoring room stored in the living room now. It's a little indication, a little taster into what room we're going to work in next. So for those following us more recently, you'll know that we've had a huge floor disaster here in the living room. We used reclaimed floorboards under here. We've currently got carpet over the top of it, but we've got to paint these and make sure that they're sealed properly. That's one thing that we still need to do in this room before we can go cruising. We've still got to paint the side walls as well. I think we can do that when we're cruising, to be honest. Probably got to sort out the leak in the hatch up the top here, as you can see. Got a little bit of a leaky issue.
It drips on your head sometimes if you're really lucky.
If you're lucky. Okay, next room.
So the kitchen is probably the most complete of all the spaces in the narrowboat. However, as is always the way, there's always these little bits and bobs that just need finishing off. So things like sealing around some of the worktops, replacing these horrible blinds. All of the worktops were replaced. These are made from reclaimed scaffolding boards, because where we can, we always try and use as much reclaimed material as we can. The floor was redone using the old floorboards that were just brought back to life with a hard ass bit of sanding. An inspection hatch made in the floor so that should we ever need to, we can get in there, and we intend actually to use that as a little bit of like a cooler to like store some of our food as well in the cooler months, because essentially it's a fridge down there. The water is freezing. Probably the last thing to mention was the shelving unit. This was all replaced using some cool copper piping. So that just gives us a load more kind of storage in the kitchen for all of our herbs and spices and stuff like that. So we have one of these old Aldi comfort boilers installed, and we've deliberated a lot over whether we should rip it out and replace it with something like a Webasto, and we have looked into that, but you're talking, I think when we priced it up, you're talking like £3,000 onwards or something. So we thought, you know what, this is working perfectly at the minute. I know not everyone's a fan of them, but why not use what we've got for the moment, and we can think about updating it somewhere in the future. So we're going to link this up to our calorifier, which we'll talk a bit more when we get down the other end, and this will be our source of hot water and heating, because we're going to hopefully reinstall some radiators down this end of the boat, because she is long and the stove's heat doesn't make it quite the way down to the far end, so it needs some supplementary heating as well.
Also, the cupboard doors still need to be painted. This is something that we're probably going to do en route. Come on into our tiny bedroom. So the bedroom is pretty much finished, really. There are bits and pieces that we want to do, like maybe revamp all this, but to go cruising, we're probably just gonna stick with it, really. The one thing we are going to do before we go cruising is just lay the wooden floors down here, because that's one thing that will probably be pretty tricky to do when you're on the towpath. But I mean, that's going to be my little job in the next few weeks, isn't it, Bex?
It is. I've assigned Chris the job so that I can crack on with the plumbing.
Again, the sidewalls, we need to paint all these, but that is a job for when we're en route. Now we're getting into the dark area of the narrowboat. Areas on the narrowboat that haven't really been touched, but also don't necessarily need to be touched in order to go cruising. Well, one area definitely needs to be sorted before we go cruising, and I'll let Bex take you there now.
Right, now try not to get too excited as we enter the bathroom of dreams. Here she is, the tiniest bathroom known to mankind. So the bathroom, as you can see, has not even really begun. We have the compost toilet. That was probably one of the first things I think I made on the boat, wasn't it? No sink, we have no shower. Now the reason we haven't started on the bathroom yet is because we need to install the calorifier and have all of the hot water system kind of in place, because otherwise, if we make the bathroom all lovely, we might end up in a situation where we have to rip the walls out to get to the pipe work in order to do that very thing. So we have held on and have struggled along with the bathroom like this.
But I don't think the bathroom is going to take sort of necessarily 6 months to do or so. We'll probably manage to get the tiles and all that put in pretty quickly, I reckon. Maybe a month working on the bathroom. Key thing is to get the hot water running, and that's the thing that's held us back for so long. Okay, next up, Bex, where are you taking us?
We're into the back bedroom.
AKA the snoring room. This is where I used to hide out when I've got my snore on.
So here we have the back room. Now this has been like a number of different spaces like over the years that we've had the boat. At the minute it's kind of like the dump everything that you don't know where else to put it kind of a room.
So basically, currently, we don't really fully know what we're going to do with this room yet. If to turn it into a bedroom, if to turn it into a little study. But mainly, before we go cruising, the one thing that we do need to do is get our calorifier installed. And what that does is introduces hot water onto our narrowboat. And then anything else in here we can probably do en route. It's also, obviously, where the Titan lives. My famous wet vac. And then this leads out to the stern area where you drive the boat from.
So I can't believe it, we just got to the end of the walkthrough and we've missed out the most sort of significant part basically, and that is the bilges. The biggest thing that we've had to date to have to work on in the boat, and the starting point of everything here in terms of having to restore the whole thing, is the bilges and the water that had been sat in the bilges for a long time. We sucked it all out, we scraped back the bilges, we coated them with protective paint, and now we're kind of building from the base up.
This is our new protective layer on the hull. It's an epoxy under the name of Jotun. So we're going to have a little walk over to the weir and the lock and see what we're at. Yes, if you remember in the last episode, we had a pretty horrendous flooding situation up at the marina here. I mean, we have never seen it get this bad. But let's get over there now and see if things have calmed down a little bit. So the landing platform for the narrowboats and the cruisers that are waiting to get into the lockup here has re-emerged. Last time Bex came over here by herself and done an analysis. Too muddy for me. I won't get in there. No way. All looks very normal in here so far.
Someone has very cleverly found like the perfect beer can holder. Like this was up to like here before.
And we're finally starting to see some of the weir come back now. You can actually see the drop now. They'd opened up both sides of the gates on the locks just to let it all flood down from Bedford. Don't know where it's all gone. Where's all the water gone? This was the bit where Bex took you in the last episode as well, and this was completely underwater here.
You can see like the devastation at the bottom of the stairs here. Like that was completely covered over. You couldn't. This was all flooded.
Looks very muddy, but a little bit of sanity coming back to the marina and the surrounding areas. We are the Nomadic Crobot. I'm Chris.
I'm Bex.
And if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, make sure that you do. It's completely free. You can keep completely up to date with the channel and our journey and our adventure and our constant quest to attack every river and canal on the English network. God, I'm getting bored of saying that now. I've said it so many times. But it is going to happen, guys. This is our year. We are going to go cruising and we are going to finally become a cruising narrowboat channel. I'm sick of being a DIY narrowboat channel. Bex isn't, she loves it. Anyway, see you later, guys.